People think the cruelest betrayal is falling out of love. Sometimes, it's choosing someone else while still wearing your wedding ring. For 3 years, Omega Soren Ashby had secretly been married to Alpha Kale Arden, heir to the powerful Blackthorn pack. Their marriage had never been easy. Kale belonged to a family obsessed with power. Soren preferred medicine, books, and helping injured pack members. But behind closed doors, Kale loved him. Then the war began. Blackthorn pack clashed with Silver Veil pack for months. One night, 23 wolves were killed. Kale's father finally gave his son an ultimatum: marry Lucian Heir, the Silver Veil heir, or this war continues. Kale refused, until his father quietly added, "Your refusal will cost more lives." That night, Kale returned home, looking broken. Soren had been waiting for him with a secret of his own. 3 days earlier, he'd discovered he was pregnant. He had planned to surprise his husband. Instead, Kale barely looked at him. "I have to marry Lucian." Soren's smile disappeared. "What?" "It's the only way to stop the war." Soren's hand instinctively moved toward his stomach. "What about us?" Kale looked away. "What about me?" Kale swallowed. "You're someone I have to leave behind." The words shattered him. Soren slowly removed his wedding ring. He placed it in Kale's palm. "Then go." Kale stared at the ring. He wanted to explain. He wanted to tell Soren that this wasn't what he wanted. But he said nothing, and that silence became the cruelest answer. That night, while Kale prepared for a political wedding, Soren packed one small bag. He touched his stomach. "My baby." His voice trembled. "You'll never be someone's secret." Before sunrise, Soren disappeared, beyond Blackthorn territory. Kale married Lucian 3 days later, and he never knew the Omega he had just abandoned was carrying his heir. Soren never looked back. By sunrise, he had crossed the last Blackthorn border and reached a small mountain town where nobody knew his name. He rented a tiny house beside a rural clinic. There were no pack councils, no political dinners, no Alpha waiting to tell him what sacrifice he owed his family. Just snow-covered mountains and quiet mornings. When the clinic offered him work, Soren accepted immediately. He became the pharmacist, assistant, and occasional nurse. Every paycheck went toward one thing: his child. He bought a small wooden crib, then blankets, then tiny clothes. On the wall above the crib, he placed a handwritten name: Eli. 7 months passed. Soren learned to live without Kale. He still dreamed about him sometimes, but he stopped expecting him to return. Meanwhile, Blackthorn celebrated Kale's political wedding. The ceremony ended the immediate bloodshed between the two packs. Everyone called it peace. Kale called it survival. He barely spoke during the celebration. Lucian noticed. That evening, he finally confronted him. "You still love him." Kale stiffened. "I don't know what you're talking about." Lucian gave a humorless smile. "Don't insult me." Kale looked away. "My husband is somewhere else." "Then find him." "I can't." "Why?" Kale's jaw tightened. "Because I chose this." Lucian studied him, then quietly said, "Soren is alive." Kale froze. "What?" "I know where he went." Kale's heart began pounding. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because he asked me not to." Silence. Lucian continued. "He didn't want your pity." Kale closed his eyes. For months, he'd convinced himself Soren would eventually understand. Now he realized Soren had deliberately disappeared, and Lucian had protected his choice. Then, an urgent messenger burst into the room. "My lord!" Lucian turned. "What happened?" The messenger was breathless. "It's Soren." Kale's face went pale. "What's wrong?" The messenger swallowed. "He's at a clinic in the mountains." He went into labor. Kale stood so quickly his chair crashed backward. For 7 months, he had believed he sacrificed one marriage to save thousands of lives. Now, he was about to discover what that sacrifice had cost him. The storm arrived before Kale did. Snow buried the mountain roads. cutting the clinic off from the nearest town. Inside, Soren gripped the edge of the bed as another contraction tore through him. "He's coming," the elderly doctor said. Soren nodded through clenched teeth. "I can do this." He had survived 7 months alone. He could survive this too. Hours later, a newborn's cry finally filled the dark clinic. Soren broke down the moment the doctor placed the baby against his chest. Tiny fingers, dark hair, and beneath the baby's left ear, a distinct black crescent-shaped birthmark, the mark of the Blackthorn bloodline. Soren kissed his son's forehead. "Eli," his voice trembled. "You made it." Then the lights went out. The doctor froze. Outside, footsteps crunched through the snow. Someone shouted, "Search every room." Soren's blood ran cold. The doctor hurried to the window. "There are armed men outside." Soren immediately pulled Eli closer. "Why would anyone come for my baby?" The doctor looked terrified. "I don't know." A door slammed downstairs. Then another. The attackers were searching the clinic. Soren realized the truth. Someone knew about Eli. Someone knew the child was Cale Arden's heir. He couldn't stay. The doctor revealed an old emergency tunnel beneath the clinic. "Take it. But you. I'll delay them." Soren refused to leave. The doctor pushed him toward the hidden passage. "Go." Soren ran into the freezing darkness carrying his newborn. Behind him, the clinic erupted with shouting. He stumbled through the snow until his legs finally gave out. Eli began crying. "I'm sorry," Soren whispered, holding him tighter. "I'm sorry, little one." Then headlights appeared through the storm. Soren shielded Eli with his body. A convoy stopped nearby. Blackthorn soldiers poured out. And the first man through the snow was someone Soren had spent 7 months trying to forget. Cale. Their eyes met. Cale stared at the newborn in Soren's arms. His face went completely white. Then he whispered the words that shattered the silence. "Is that my son?" Cale couldn't move. For 7 months, he had imagined Soren angry. He had imagined him refusing to see him. He had imagined everything except this. A tiny newborn slept against Soren's chest. Cale stared at the child's face, then at Soren. "Is he mine?" Soren's arms tightened around Eli. "You know he is." Cale swallowed hard. He stepped forward, then stopped. "Can I?" Soren hesitated. That hesitation hurt more than any accusation. Finally, he nodded. Cale slowly reached toward the baby. Eli's tiny hand closed around his finger. Cale's face crumpled. A tear slipped down his cheek. "I didn't know." Soren looked at him quietly. "You never asked." 3 words. Cale lowered his head. He had spent months telling himself he had sacrificed his happiness to save thousands of lives. Now he understood that his silence had created another tragedy. Lucian approached from behind. "Cale." Cale didn't look at him. "Who attacked the clinic?" "We don't know yet." A soldier rushed forward. "We found evidence." He handed Lucian a blood-stained document recovered from one of the attackers. The seal belonged to the Blackthorn Council. Cale's expression hardened. "My father's council." The soldier nodded. Someone knew about the child. Soren's stomach dropped. Cale looked toward Eli. "Why would my family want him dead?" Lucian's face darkened. "That's what we need to discover." Suddenly, another soldier appeared. "My lord, we found the attacker's payment records." Cale took the documents. His hands began shaking. The payments had come from 2 accounts. One belonged to Blackthorn, the other, Silver Vale. Cale looked at Lucian. Lucian's expression changed. Neither man spoke. The war they thought they had ended might never have been a war at all. And Soren's newborn son might be the reason someone had started it. The mountain clinic became a temporary command center. Cale refused to leave Soren and Eli. Lucian remained nearby, studying the documents recovered from the attackers. Soren watched him carefully. For years, he had imagined Lucian Heir as the man who stole his husband. Now he wasn't so sure. Finally, Lucian spoke. "I owe you an apology." Soren frowned. "For what?" I knew you were alive. Kale looked at him sharply. You knew? Lucian nodded. Soren asked me to keep his location secret. Kale's face tightened. You could have told me. I could have. Lucian looked toward Soren, but he didn't want you to find him. Soren said nothing. Lucian continued. I respected his decision. The words silenced Kale. Then Lucian placed the financial records on the table. The payments to the attackers came from both packs. Kale leaned closer. Why? Because someone has been profiting from this war. Lucian revealed years of hidden transactions, weapons, territory purchases, black market contracts. Every major battle had generated enormous profits for two families. Kale's father, Lucian's father. Soren stared at the documents. The war was manufactured. Lucian nodded. The peace marriage was part of the plan. Kale's face went pale. They wanted me married to Lucian, to unite the two territories under one political family. Lucian finished. And Eli? Lucian looked at the newborn. He's the real prize. Soren's blood ran cold. Because Eli wasn't simply Kale's son. He was the future heir to both bloodlines. If the conspiracy succeeded, whoever controlled Eli would eventually control both packs. Kale slowly looked at Soren. I'm going back. Soren's expression hardened. To your father? No. Kale picked up his coat. To expose him. Then he looked at Eli. And this time, I'm taking my family with me. Blackthorn's council hall fell silent when Kale entered. Soren stood beside him. Lucian carried baby Eli. No one had expected them to return together. Kale's father rose slowly. What is this? Kale placed the financial records onto the council table. The truth. His father glanced at the documents, then laughed. You would believe in Omega over your own father. Kale's expression hardened. I believe evidence. Soren stepped forward. The mountain clinic was attacked because of my son. Your people paid the attackers. Lucian placed Silvervale's records beside Blackthorn's, and so did mine. The council erupted. Kale raised his voice. Silence. Everyone stopped. He looked around the chamber where his future had been decided without him. You called this peace. You called my marriage necessary. You told me 23 people died because I refused to sacrifice my happiness. His voice broke. How many more died because you needed this war? His father slammed his fist down. Everything I did was for Blackthorn. No. Kale removed the heir's crest from his coat. You did it for power. He placed it on the table. I renounce my inheritance. The hall exploded with shocked whispers. His father stared at him. Without this pack, you are nothing. Kale looked toward Soren and Eli. Then I'll build something else. Guards entered with evidence gathered by Lucian's investigators. The corrupt council members were arrested one by one. Soren watched quietly. Kale turned toward him. I know this doesn't fix what I did. No. I know you don't owe me forgiveness. Soren looked down at Eli. You're right. Kale swallowed. Then tell me what I can do. Soren handed him the baby's blanket. Start by being his father. Kale accepted it with trembling hands. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was something better. A beginning. The conspiracy collapsed within weeks. Kale's father and Lucian's father were arrested. The evidence against them was overwhelming. The forced political marriage was officially dissolved. For the first time since leaving Blackthorn, Soren was free. Everyone expected him to return to Kale's mansion. He refused. I'll stay at the clinic. Kale nodded. Then I'll come here. Soren looked at him carefully. You don't have to. I know. Kale smiled faintly. I want to. And he did. Every morning, Kale arrived before sunrise. He learned how Eli liked his bottles. He changed diapers badly enough to make Soren laugh. He memorized every medicine dosage. He attended every doctor's appointment. Most importantly, he never demanded anything from Soren. Not forgiveness, not affection, not a return to their marriage. One night, Soren woke to the sound of Eli crying. He walked into the nursery and stopped. Kale was sitting beside the crib, exhausted. He had fallen asleep holding Eli's tiny sock. Soren quietly watched him. Kale woke moments later. I was trying to put him back to sleep. I can see that. I'm failing. Soren smiled despite himself. You're learning. Kale looked at him. Is that enough? Soren's smile faded. For now. Kale nodded. I'll take it. Months passed. The distance between them slowly became less painful. They began talking again. Not as husband and wife. Not yet. Just two people learning who they were, after everything had changed. Then one evening, Kale asked quietly, "Do you still hate me?" Soren looked at him. No. Kale's eyes softened. "Do you still love me?" Soren didn't answer, but he didn't walk away either. For Kale, that was enough hope to keep showing up. 2 years passed. Kale never stopped showing up. He never pressured Soren to return to Blackthorn. Instead, he built a life around the one promise Soren had given him. Be Eli's father. Every morning, Kale visited the clinic. Every evening, he returned to his own small home. He had sold the mansion after renouncing his inheritance. He wanted no reminder of the life his father had designed for him. Soren noticed the change. Kale no longer made decisions alone. Before arranging Eli's medical appointments, he asked. Before planning family trips, he asked. Even when Soren disagreed, Kale listened. One evening, Soren found him repairing Eli's broken wooden toy. You could buy another one. Kale shook his head. He loves this one. Soren smiled. You've learned his preferences. I learned yours too. Soren looked at him. Kale immediately clarified. I don't mean that the old way. Soren laughed softly. I know. Silence followed. Then Kale spoke. I can't undo the day I left you. No. I can't give you back those 7 months. No. But I can spend the rest of my life making sure you never doubt whether I choose you. Soren's eyes filled with tears. He looked away. Don't make promises you can't keep. I'm not. Kale stepped closer. I'm making a decision. Soren finally looked at him. What decision? To keep showing up. For once, Soren had no answer. He simply reached for Kale's hand. Not as forgiveness. Not yet. But as a choice. At the first joint peace festival that summer, thousands gathered from both packs. Eli ran between them, laughing. Then he grabbed Soren's hand and reached for Kale's. Soren hesitated. Then he held on. Kale looked at him. Neither spoke. They didn't need to. For the first time since their separation, Soren had chosen to stand beside him, not because of duty, not because of their child, because he wanted to. Years passed before anyone called Soren and Kale a family again. It happened naturally. No council arranged it. No treaty demanded it. No alpha ordered it. The corrupt leaders who had manufactured the war were convicted for murder, fraud, and conspiracy. The two packs created independent councils. Lucian became a respected diplomat between Blackthorn and Silver Vale. He remained close to Soren and Eli. To Eli, he was simply Uncle Lucian. Soren kept his mountain clinic and expanded it into a medical center serving both territories. Kale never asked him to give it up. Instead, he helped fund it anonymously. Their relationship rebuilt slowly. There were still difficult conversations. Old wounds sometimes reopened, but Kale never ran from them. He listened. He apologized. He changed. Years later, during another peace festival, Eli, now old enough to understand the history surrounding his family, ran between Soren and Kale. He grabbed both their hands. Come on! Soren laughed. Kale followed. A reporter nearby recognized them. Alpha Kale. After everything that happened, what do you regret most? Kale looked at Soren, thinking I had to choose between peace and the person I loved. He looked down at Eli. I believed sacrifice meant abandoning my family. His voice softened. I was wrong. Soren squeezed his hand. Kale continued. Real peace is building a world where your family doesn't have to be sacrificed for it. The reporter lowered her microphone. Around them, Blackthorn and Silver Veil families celebrated together. The war that had once divided them had become history, and the child everyone once wanted hidden stood between two people who had finally learned how to choose each other freely. Eli wasn't a weapon. He wasn't a political heir. He wasn't a bargaining chip. He was simply their son. Soren looked at Kale. For years, he had believed their love died the night Kale married his rival. Now he understood something different. Their first marriage had been built on secrecy. Their second chance was being built on choice. Kale leaned closer. "Would you come home with us?" Soren smiled. "Ask me properly." Kale laughed. "Will you come home with me?" Soren looked at their son, then at the alpha who had finally learned what love required. Yes, and this time, he meant it. Because peace, built on broken hearts, is only another form of war, and the heir they tried to control became the child who taught them how to choose love instead.